Hello world, my name is Dan, also known as Thunder Dan, also known as Sneaky D, also known as, you guessed it. But now, I'm bringing a new nickname to the table, literally. There's the table. My new name is gonna be Baker Dan, because today I am going to be baking. As you can hear in the lovely music, we are going to bake with Dan. With me, I'm going to bake with you. We're going to bake. The official name of the recipe is called White Chocolate Cheesecake Cookies. Thank you, justataste.com, for providing us the recipe. And I will make a few moderate changes. So, to start off, I would like to show you that I have gathered all necessary ingredients. I will show them to you one by one so that you can see. This, 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. There's a lot of purposes for it. This, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Arm & Hammer for the win. One teaspoon of iodized salt. 1/2 cup or 1 stick of unsalted butter at room temperature. 1/2 cup of cream cheese measured out and ready to go. 1/2 cup of sugar, white cane sugar. 1 cup of brown sugar, nice and packed, light. 1 1/4 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Thank you, McCormick. You never fail to disappoint. And 2 very important ingredients, 2 large eggs. Don't worry, I won't be juggling them. And the last ingredient, very, very important, we have our white chocolate chips, 2 cups or 1 package. Now, those are your basic ingredients for the white chocolate chip cheesecake cookies. Now, you might be asking yourself, where do you start with such a recipe? The answer is step 1. So I have prepared a medium bowl. In the medium bowl, I have my magic whisk. It's magic. I will be using this to whisk together the flour. Hopefully you can see here that the flour has been poured in. The flour is in the bowl. And I will mix together the flour, the baking soda, and the salt. Now with the baking soda, remember, it was 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I have here a teaspoon, and I have here some baking soda. Also, don't mix up baking soda and baking powder. That would be a rookie mistake. Baking soda is in. Alright, baking soda is in. Next up, we're going to go ahead and put in the salt. Also 1 teaspoon, as noted previously. Let's get that salt open. Sometimes the salt doesn't want to open up. It's like a book with no story. You can't open it up. You never know what's going on. Alright, here we go. Put in the 1 teaspoon of salt. Hopefully you can see that my hands are working. Alrighty, 1 teaspoon of salt is in. Measure that out, nice and mixed. Perfect. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to whisk together. Oh, the magic whisk works miracles. Also, I just love the classical music. What a beautiful background. Very relaxing way to bake. You could even say I let the music do the baking. They don't call me Thunder Dan the Weatherman for nothing. I also bake on the weekends. Literally, because today is a Sunday. Alright, so I'm going to whisk this together for a little bit more. Not only do I stir, I whisk, I magic whisk. Oh man, this is kind of a workout, but it's worth it. Great food, never was settled for easily. Alright, now that we've got this whisked together, I'm going to set it aside here. I'm leaving it, just making sure that it's been whisked sufficient, mixed together. I'm going to bring you over to another part of the kitchen, a very essential part. I call this my $15 miracle. This is the mixer. And this mixer is going to help us to mix what we need to mix. So, the mixer is up so that you can see. And now, following the directions exactly, what we're going to do is I'm going to mix the butter, cream cheese, sugar, light brown sugar, and vanilla extract all together until it is light and fluffy. So let me get my butter and cream cheese first. Alright, so here we go. The cream cheese. Let me get a spoon so I can put that in there. Here we go. It's very packed. Sometimes it takes a little bit to scoop it all out, but I will be successful because I never give up. Even in the face of adversity, classical music comforts me quite often. Okay. Alright, get that in there. That's half a cup of cream cheese in case you've forgotten. Here's a little trick I learned. Scrape stuff off on the mixer. That way, when it mixes, it'll mix. We want it to mix. Alright, cream cheese is in. Next, I'm getting the butter in there. Remember, this butter has been sitting out for a little while so that it is at room temperature, which is what we want. So, butter is in. Let me just show you. And my fingers got buttery, which happens. That's what happens when you touch butter. That is what happens. I'll wash my hands. Just with water, just trying to rinse off the butter. Let's go ahead and grab this. Paper towel, located above the mixer. Now, the next step in my recipe, that's brought to you by justataste.com, is I need to mix in the sugar, light brown sugar, and vanilla extract. Sugar, brown sugar, now vanilla extract, which, if you took notes and remember, we are going to need approximately 1 1/4 teaspoons. Here we go. Now, you may notice that I did use the 1 teaspoon measurement, but that's because I also wanted to get a little bit extra, just in case. You can never have too much vanilla, because vanilla brings the flavor. So, let's go ahead and get that started. Take a look here. Let that keep mixing for a bit while we check on our next step. It says for about 2 minutes, so we're going to start. 2-minute timer. Siri, please start the timer for 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes and counting.
Let's up the intensity. Smells good. "40 seconds left." Timer's done. You can see it looks great. So, next step, we are going to add the eggs one at a time, beating well after each addition. Here we go. Egg 1. Crack and dump. Just remember that. Crack and dump. Eggshells, throw them away. Remember, I'm going to wipe my hands off. That wasn't supposed to happen, but mistakes happen even when you're prepared. So let's go ahead and beat well after each addition. Mix it up a little bit. I'd say about 20 seconds or so. While we get ready to add in another egg. A little bit more. Okay, let's go ahead and okay, second egg, remember. Perfect. As you can see, I make mistakes. So do we all. So do we all. Alright. So, now, we go ahead and beat it thoroughly. Okay, so while that is beating, we are going to get prepared to add the flour mixture and then mix it together. And then the final step, stir in the white chocolate chips. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and let that stir, mix, beat, whatever you want to call it. And remember, I made the bowl. See? Voila. Okay, so now, next up we are going to mix it in here. We'll just bring this guy off, let him drip a little bit. Hopefully you can see there now. As you can see, I am about to take the bowl of this flour mixture, just throw it on in there, you know? Alright, someone is here at the door, so I'm gonna take a break. I will be back.
Hey guys, I'm back. So, as you remember, I was in the process of sticking the mixer down, getting it ready to go. Cue the fireworks. We'll let that mix for a while. So, pure lemon extract. Something miraculous. Oh, I love it. It smells good. Now, let's just go ahead and dump those in there. Little by little. Yeah! I get excited when I bake. Let's turn down the intensity. Just let it slowly. Well, for those of you still watching, I commend you for your dedication. Baking is a process. It does take time. It's worth the results. Now, the final part of my recipe brought to you by justataste.com, modified by yours truly. Side note, I am a college student. I cannot afford the most exquisite type of ingredients, so I must use what I can, the cheapest version. But it will taste delicious, I promise. Now, the next step, while it is mixing together, stirring, is to cover the bowl with plastic wrap, refrigerate the dough for a minimum of 2 hours, maximum of up to 3 days. And when it's ready to bake, which I will show you when, we will preheat the oven to 375 degrees, line 2 baking sheets with parchment paper or slip it or improvise. We will drop 2 to 3 tablespoon mounds of dough onto the baking sheets, spacing the mounds at least 2 inches apart. The cookies will bake for 10 to 14 minutes until golden brown. Then they will be cooled on a baking sheet for 2 minutes, and I will transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely. And that is how I make chocolate white chip cheesecake cookies. You'll enjoy them. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Baker Dan, or Dan the Baker Man, bakes without a baker hat. Yeah, I can.
Hello. Once again, I'm back. And as you can see, this is the product after it has been chilled in the refrigerator for approximately 2 hours. Now, you might be asking yourself, why does it have to chill? The answer, I don't exactly know. But I do know one thing. When the directions tell you to do something, you gotta do it. Now this next step, here's a trick. So since the dough has been chilled, it is a lot harder to scoop out. So I have a strong spoon and a small tablespoon. So I'm going to scoop the dough into 1 tablespoon sizes because a tablespoon is the size of a cookie when it expands. Like the sands of the earth, getting blown from one continent to another. Food brings us all together. Now, listen to that music, will you? Here we go. Let the scooping begin. You'll notice I am sitting down. Alright, here we go. This can get a little bit messy, possibly, but you just roll with it. Also, I'm not perfect, but sometimes the not perfect things are what matter the most. Like when you're building a castle and it falls down, do you learn from the failure or do you get defeated? I say learn, and that is where the greatest people have learned from. The greatest baker of all time, who I don't know what his name was, but he once said, if you give up after the first mistake, you won't make it very far. What a great quote. Insightful, full of cookie dough, full of knowledge. So, America, ask yourself, what am I doing to improve my baking? Remember, baking, while done for fun, can also help to make the world a better place. Because when someone eats a deliciously made white chocolate chip cheesecake cookie, there's a smile on their face. Just like me, I'm baking for you now. Pardon all the interruptions. Oh, isn't that joyous sound? Now, you'll recall that the cookies need to bake at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry for those of you using a Celsius-based system. I believe there are conversion tools online. But you will bake it for 14 minutes. That will be sufficient time to melt the chips and cause the cookie to expand and become a cookie. Oh, life is just so much better when you have a chocolate chip. A white chocolate chip, that is. Because I like white chocolate more. I mean, I like regular chocolate, but white chocolate is just a different flavor. What kind of flavor do you like? Ask yourself that question. Whenever you're baking, always bake with the full purpose in mind. Remember, baking does take time, and sometimes we make mistakes, but that's okay. Just don't let the mistakes take over what you're doing. Also, congratulations to a very wonderful football team, BYU, on pulling off the double overtime win the other day. It was almost as exciting as baking. It was intense. Luckily, we pulled off the W. Do 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 do. First pan full. What do you do when you get a full pan? You move on to the next one. That's the same thing that you need to do in your life. When life grabs you by the horns, you just keep going. Now, a long story made short about why I started baking. Well, you see, when I first moved into this apartment, it was about a year ago, a little bit longer, 14 months, give or take. But when I first moved in here, we did not have any internet. And that was a problem because I'm a college student and I need the internet. I will be back in a second. I'm back. As I was saying, I needed the internet. I didn't have it. So, I had a friend who I went to high school with. Her name was Amy. And she had the internet. She happened to be pretty much my across the GK grassy knoll neighbor. And so, I was using her apartment's Wi-Fi. Now, I felt pretty bad about it because I was always using their Wi-Fi for, a couple days a week. So I said, I need to give you guys something. Do you guys like sweets? They're like, yes. I was like, what do you like? One of them didn't like chocolate, and so I was like, well, I can't buy them brownies. But we got talking, and it was discovered that carrot cake was a chosen delicious dessert of choice. So I had never baked a carrot cake before, but decided that I would get one. So first I got a store-bought cake mix, and I was going to make them that. But then I was like, no, I can do better. No, I got to try something. So I bought all the ingredients for a carrot cake from scratch, and I made it. And it turned out to be pretty good. It's actually really good. Probably the best carrot cake ever made by a rookie. And ever since that day, baking has been my sixth sense. Although I do use all five senses while I'm baking, I use the sixth sense to bake. Becomes instinct. You see something delicious, bake it into a treat. That's the way to do it. And that was why I started baking. And ever since then, I have made everything from cheesecakes to brownies to cookie brownies to cookie brownie cheesecakes. Not yet, but that's on the list. But I have made red velvet cheesecake. That was probably one of my best makes. Creme brulee with my torch. That was also a great one. And I have made no-bake cookies. Everything. Baking has become my hobby. But yes, that is the story of how Thunder Dan, the baker man, got into baking. And I've been baking ever since. I bake because I like it. And I get to eat what I bake. I bake what I make. And I'm not fake. Hope you can feel the earthquake. Which isn't happening. Which is good, because if it was, I wouldn't be baking. Now, oh, the joy of baking. The joy of life when you have a cookie in front of you. A wise man once said, when life gives you lemons, either make lemonade or trade it for a chocolate chip cookie. I happen to like the latter, the chocolate chip cookie idea. Lemons are great, but cookies are better. So always remember, cookies are what cookies do. Now, I have the pans full. I still have more cookie dough, which means I will make another pan, which is good, which means more cookies. I will be back in a second. Alright, I'm back. Now, I'm about to put the cookies into the oven. This, you gotta see. This is the oven. Siri, set timer for 14 minutes.
Okay, 14 minutes and counting.
Alright, we'll be back in 14 minutes.
So, A 10-second embarrassing apology is needed. I learned a mistake, and that is one key about being a baker. You learn from your mistakes. Wax paper is not parchment paper. The recipe called for parchment paper, but what I put is I put wax paper. And so, while the cookies were in the oven, I had an instinct to check Google and see the difference, which I should have done before. I apologize, but I'm not perfect. I learned from my mistakes. The cookies will still taste great. So what I did is I took the cookie dough off of the wax paper and put it back onto the cookie sheet. We will see how it turns out. I am pretty sure it will still be good. But, just so you know, no one is perfect, so if you do replicate the recipe, don't use wax paper. Trust me, the oven could have burned down and that would not have been cool. The big bad wolf wouldn't have been able to blow that down. So, always learn from your mistakes. Thanks, guys.
As you can see, cookies are going in the oven. Now, a side note. Listen to the music and you'll understand. No one is perfect. The final product, the first batch, unfortunately did not turn out perfect. There you can see some of them. And over here, you have the other part. Unfortunately, this was my mistake. I neglected to set my timer, which I am going to do this time. You see, what happened is I went outside to enjoy the weather, because that's another one of my favorite hobbies, as you know. Needless to say, I learned a lesson. Siri, set timer for 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes and counting.
This time, this next batch will turn out perfect. This should be a lesson to all of us, that although we make mistakes, we continue. Even the ones that don't look perfect, they'll still taste okay. That's all that matters. Thanks, guys. Thanks for believing in me, because I believe in you. This is Dan, the baker, baking a new style. Well, this was one of the darker cookies. That was not the perfect one, but I'm going to eat it and enjoy. It's a little bit crunchier, but if that's what you like, then it's perfect. I guess the moral of the story is some cookies are crunchy, some are soft. Both taste delicious. The mistake I made was not as critical as I originally thought. I just made the cookies crunchier. Bon appetit, and thanks for watching. Next time I will be making cheesecake, which I promise I've got more experience in that department. Thanks, guys.